Greetings everyone, my name is Etterville, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Mega Man Rock Force. In the last part, I defeated the last set of Fusion Robot Masters, and so it's time to move on to Justice Man's castle. Normally I would skip over stages 1 and 2 as they haven't been changed in this recent update, but I wanted to show off how much stronger Dive Man is under the water. So here we are playing as Dive Man. And of course we still have the explosive fish as before, so I'll be exploiting Dive Man's dive attack in order to pass through all these areas. Mainly his invincibility frames after doing the attack. But of course, segments like this are still annoying to dodge all the attacks for. Make sure to stock up a lot on E-tanks in this area, as even though Dive Man is stronger here, against the boss, Fish Man is still a nuisance, and much more of a pain for Dive Man. Now, one of the main reasons Dive Man is much more powerful under the water is because he maintains Mega Man's 3-shot barrage limit, but in this case, it gets upgraded from a single pellet into a series of a spread shot of 3 dive missiles. One going forward like before, and one slanted upwards diagonally, and one going downwards diagonally. And because you can spam this so much and use this like a shotgun in front of things like the Sniper Joes or those turrets there, it makes taking care of a lot of enemies much less of a hassle. Like here I can snipe the Sniper Joes from up here, that turret, as well as these annoying explosive fish. Because I can fire up and down diagonally, it makes taking care of them much less of a nuisance, and makes a few of these segments much less dangerous to traverse through. And of course, combined with Dive Man's increased maneuverability underwater, and the advantage of using the dive attack, plus the invincibility frames that happen afterwards, which can actually be increased if you increase the invincibility time settings in the options menu, make him a force to be reckoned with in the water. Though this kind of stops when he's out of it. And also, as a note that I discovered to my discomfort, or to my horror in some of my runs, you cannot use the dive attack when you're in your invincibility frames, or after you do it. So yeah, that resulted in a few deaths here and there. Otherwise, it makes going through all these segments much less of a hassle. Especially the end segment coming up right here. Normally with these surprise missiles coming up, I had to be very cautious while taking on these squid mechs as well as the explosive fish. Normally I have to use a combination of a photon flare and pulse stopper as Mega Man, or a few other attacks as well. But here, because of the combination of the dive attacks and invincibility frames, having the ability to fire a guided missile at the enemies, as well as, well, the spread shot, it makes it much simpler to go through. However, this doesn't really transfer to the boss fight against Fishman. In the first phase, Dive Man doesn't do too well. Regardless if you use the spread shot or the guided missile, the dive missile, well, it doesn't really do that much damage to him. It does the same normal damage as a Mega Buster shot. So basically spam your spread shot and try guiding these explosives as far as possible. I was kind of rusty here, as it's been quite a while since I faced this boss, but oh boys, it's still as annoying as it was in the previous updates. Really though, the Fishman's weakness to Dive Man's dive missile happens only in the second phase. Ow, this was a mistake. But even then, even with his weakness, he's still very much of a nuisance to take care of because of Dive Man's issues with coverage at times. Though with the spread shot edition, it basically takes Dive Man from my second least favorite character, the second most least favorite character, as contradictory as that sounds, into one of my favorite characters, even more so than Fireman. Of course, I would suggest Fireman for the boss fight, but even though Fireman takes a big hit to his shot patterns, mainly because all his fireballs become bubbles, and he loses quite a bit of his area coverage, I still feel like he has a better shot at taking care of this boss, especially in the second phase. And that's why I basically had to spam so many E-tanks in order to finish the segment. Alright, in the second segment, his weakness is basically the dive missile, so use it as is, and it makes taking care of these fish much simpler, Though when he does this attack where he releases all these school of fish, it's still problematic to dodge everything. And that's why around soon enough at least, I probably should have used a W tank or weapons tank. At this point I decided to use my last E tank as I didn't want to die again. But really though, Dive Man's usefulness underwater is pretty pronounced, though you can only really take advantage of it in this stage, as well as the water segments in Shockman's stage. And there we go. Now, I'll be skipping Justice Castle Stage 2 as there's no difference, really. And Polar Man is weak against Fireman's attacks, obviously. I decided to visit the shop and restack on E-Tanks. I don't really need any spike guards. I really wish there were more beat calls. Oh well. And now, it's time to move on to Justice Castle 3, which, as we'll see in the map screen right now, has undergone some major renovations. Now, instead of being basically, I hate to say it, cut and paste segments from the previous 8 main stages, it's now completely revamped and now just takes instead of copy and pasting elements of or parts of the stages, it now just takes the elements. Like over here, we have a combination of Circus Man's stage and Pulse Man's stage, with that Pulse Wave over there, as well as the Virus Man's stage. And because we have those invisible Yoku blocks, disappearing, reappearing blocks, as well as those Circuit Man's light bulbs that we can shoot. Of course, I tanked that Goldwater, put the disappearing, reappearing blocks at the beginning, as this killed me the most number of times in recording. It took 30 attempts to get past that, and the next segment coming up. This requires a little bit careful positioning, and this killed me in the next revision of this. This segment. In addition, the first segment killed me quite a few times, but this one, it took me a while to figure out you're supposed to shoot the light bulb when you're on the second one, jump up and get down. But thankfully though, unlike in Virus Man's stage, you can actually use the viral outbreak in order to block those shots. Well, most of them at least, so that makes it much easier. Here's a combination of Virus Man's stage gimmicks, as well as Pulse Man's teleporters. It's not too bad, though just make sure to time it well so you don't end up embedding yourself on the spikes. Here's where Solar Man comes into play. I just wanted to take care of that charlatan, or whatever his name is, so he wouldn't throw his cane at me. In this segment, if these sparkles or sun droplets come on the wrong side, you're supposed to jump up, shoot the light bulb in order to pass. In the upcoming segment, it's almost mandatory, unless the RNG is in your favor in order to pass. This is kind of a mistake here. Oh well. Alright, here's the upcoming segment I was talking about. In the previous one, you could get by with staying on one side of the room and collecting the sun droplets. But here, you need to jump from left to right, but before doing it, you have to shoot the light bulb so you can pass by safely. If you don't time it correctly, or you don't shoot down right, you'll basically fall into the abyss. This is even more of a hassle in harder mode, or hard mode, because, well, these disappear faster. Thankfully though, in this update, the speed at which they disappear has been decreased. Here's the boss fight again from Pulse Man's stage. Once again, if you're playing as Bomb Man, you can completely skip this boss fight. Also, for some reason, if you go back up the ladder, and you go back down, yeah, like I'll be showing here. Alright, I collected that large weapon energy. Oops, nope, we have to fight this boss again. I believe this may be the same in the Pulse Man's original stage, though I'm not sure. So yeah, once you defeat the boss, just go back down, unless you're willing to try facing it off against it again. So a quick trip to Eddie's. That's still pretty good. Alright, now we're in one of my favorite parts of this stage. We have a combination of I forget his now I just forget his name. The Robot Master who had explosives. But basically, on the minecart, you must make sure to shoot at the light bulbs in order for the track to still be there. If the minecart goes over the tracks and it's not there, it'll fall into the abyss and explode. like this segment, and complicating matters are all these bacteriophages, or whatever they are. So you must be able to shoot them, not get infected, and make it past without taking damage. Now we're in the segment that's a combination of Shockmans as well as Cryptomans. Oh, Fuseman. The previous minecart segment was from Fuseman. Sorry, I completely derped in that moment. But yeah, that segment also cost me a few lives, so you must be able to time it correctly, and I suggest using weapons like the Pulse Stopper or Photon Flare to take care of all those enemies at once. After all, if you get hit by one of those viruses while going there, your controls will be reversed and no more charge shots. Here's some of these giant stoppers. Alright, here's another one of those Sun Collection segments. Basically, keeps collecting these sun things and avoid getting shocked by all those shock areas. Overall, I do like the... well, I'll get to that, sorry. There's one other segment I wanted to talk about. This upcoming one. I made a slight mistake here, as you're supposed to say... If the platform isn't set, you're supposed to go back and shoot the light bulb from there. But here, it wasn't necessary, thankfully. Alright. Jump into the teleporter, shoot the light bulb here, jump into the pink teleporter, get to the left. Now, shoot the side so it hits that light bulb, and then shoot the light bulb and get to the left side, which I failed to do in this part. Now, in my next attempt, I was able to do this by just shooting it a little bit differently, and I made it. And after this is basically the Robomaster rematches, the same as before. So, my overall talk and everything else from here on is about the same. So, taking this time to talk about it, overall I do like the revamped Justice Castle tree. Instead of just copying and pasting segments from the original stage, it instead takes the concepts of those stages itself and merges them all together. It's kind of similar to, I would say, Mega Man Unlimited's Final Fortress stage, Wily 4 I believe. But instead of having one individual segment per Robot Master, now we have one combined into all of them. One complete chunk instead of 9 individual ones, which contain concise versions of the stages. So overall I like this kind of better. Though it could use I wish it was a little bit longer and combined more than 2 stage gimmicks at a time, as I felt it only combined 2, maybe 3 gimmicks at most. I was hoping for something more creative in 4 or 5. Oh well. Anyways, also another one of the changes that was made is that at the end of each boss fight, you know, in addition to getting the large weapon power-up, or large life energy power-up, you'll also get a minor circuit that'll fall at the bottom. If you collect that circuit, then you'll teleport out, regardless if you collected the large energy pickup or not. So make sure to get the large life energy pickup before. This will be kind of an important change in terms of the story when we get to the ending. But otherwise, other than that, all the boss fights and their strategies, their weaknesses are all the same. So nothing else to say here. The only thing I would say is I kind of did some boss fights rather sloppily compared to my previous runs. Oh well. Oh, and one other note I wanted to make earlier. You can actually slide under Virus Man's attack when he does his viral outbreak attack. The one basically where he separates his top and bottom. The one over here. You can slide under it, and it makes avoiding this much simpler. Alright, all the 8 Robot Masters have been defeated. We get back to this segment, Cutman teleports in, and instead of giving us an E-tank, he gives us a W-tank. Which is pretty nice, I could use one right now. Although for the boss fight against Justice Man, it's not really necessary. Here we have the same spider bombs as before, so you can restock on any life or weapon energy if you want. Although I have enough E-tanks and W-tanks, so it's not really necessary. And here's Justice Man. And the same dialogue as before. Well, mostly at least. I don't remember the scrap heap line at the beginning, or at the end. His weakness is bead, as well as the shock gauntlet as before. And I believe that Electman is the Rock Force member who's strong against him the most. Or Cutman. I think it's Electman though. I'll need to double check. I'll put it in the description and or the annotations. Here's the second phase, where I really wish I had gotten beat in this run. Oh well. He pretty much has the same set of attacks as before, which I don't find to be too much of a problem, as he's pretty much a feature-complete boss. The only thing I really wish is if there was a third phase of this boss fight against Justice Man. I mean, there's a giant eagle of freedom back in the background that's just screaming to be used in the final boss fight. Maybe a third phase where he fuses it with that eagle in the background, similar to the Sigma fight in Mega Man X1. That would be an interesting final boss, where he basically just merges with the eagle in the background, and we have to fight a giant eagle Borg or eagle robot. That would make this boss fight a lot more interesting and more epic. And alas, we defeat Justice Man, but unlike before, Mega Man doesn't collapse at the ground. He collects this little bit differently colored golden integrated circuit and teleports back to Dr. Light's lab. And from here on out, the ending has been changed quite significantly. So the rebelling Robot Masters have been defeated, and now their rampage is over. And so the problems have been removed and isolated and removed. But apparently they haven't been caused by combat. It was really Dr. Light's doing. Essentially, the main change in the storyline is that instead of Justice Man going Maverick, I'll call him Maverick at this point, from the damage from Shockman before, it was really a combination of that and Dr. Light's experimental testing in order for Justice Man to have more freedom. Of course, that unfortunately due to the way he was programmed, he would have gone insane, similar to his comrades. And Dr. Light and Mega Man conclude that the future is bright. Hopefully in the future, peace can be restored, and the retirement law for robots can be abolished. Though I thought it was abolished at the end of Mega Man 9. I could be mixing something up. And Mega Man finally explains why he created the Rock Force, so that if he would fall in the future, someone would be able to stand up for him and protect the ones he loves. It seems reasonable, considering how often the Robot Masters seem to rise up in this world. Having a Rock Force, or several backup Rock Forces for that matter, would be a good idea, especially considering what happens in the timeline canonically. And here's the other major change. Instead of having a sudden downer ending where all the Robot Masters have been silenced, because we saved their integrated circuits, they have been rebuilt, and now they have the jobs they want to be. So now we basically have an ending sequence similar to Mega Man Unlimited and Mega Man 9, where it shows what the Robot Masters are doing after this game in the epilogue. Like in this case, Cryptman is accepting donations for puppies and kittens. And also, I love that the Rock Force members are included as well, all with their unique personality and their reactions. And Photon Man is for solar power as well as wind power, in conjunction with Tornado Man as expected. I do like the combos and how they showed how they react with each other. Boss Man is a personal trainer. Makes sense as he's the only Roadmaster built out of robotic components. Virus Man and Dive Man at the Sea and Dive Man Sick. It's kind of funny though because Virus Man was the one who defeated Dive Man in the first place. And there's Shine Woman, getting the interest of Fireman, Bomb Man, and Fuse Man. It's a nice trio actually of fire, bombs, and explosions. Shockman's a helper of Otto, especially with his very long extendable arms. Circuit Man is at the location of the grand reopening of the Robot Museum. I could see why, considering circuits were the initial building blocks for robots. And Cutman's here to cut to the chase. And Charade Man is obviously working in the theater. And over here we have Nightman acting as the fellow actor, as well as the cast of Mega Man 6 commenting. And funny enough, that reference of Charade Woman is a reference to one of the funny poses that Charade Man can take at the Robot Master selection screen. But regardless, in the end, we end with Mega Man sitting at a bench, looking at the city. Overall, my thoughts on this new update are very positive. Starting out from the beginning, I love that they added a new set of Fusion Robot Masters if you defeat one of the non-cardinal Robot Masters in the end. Really adds to the replayability. But the biggest thing I like about this update is the fact that the Rock Force members are now playable as long as you rescue them. Playing with their weakness chain makes for a nice and new experience, especially with their own unique abilities and personalities from the various Mega Man titles and Mega Man Powered Up. Really also adds to the replayability factor. And my second biggest like is also the revamped Justice Castle 3. Like I said, instead of a rehash, it's now a revamp with the same ideas as before combined. And lastly, I do like that the ending is more consistent with the normal, classic Mega Man mythos. Instead of a sudden downer ending, we have a bittersweet ending. The Robot Masters, the main 8 Robot Masters, were saved, but unfortunately Justice Man was not able to be saved due to all the damage he accrued. That's what I was saying about the integrated circuits at the end of each Robot Master fight. With that major change, the story I feel has been upgraded quite a bit and fits better with the Mega Man 8 mythos while still offering a segue into Mega Man X and similar works. With the whole notion of freedom, how should it be monitored, as well as the possibility of them going crazy, or in the future called Mavericks. So I love the Update 4 overall. I will be coming back to this game when Update 5 gets released, according to Goldwater DLS's blog post. I presume that will be, I suspect that will be Justice Man's playthrough, or in some regards, improvements to the overall experience. So I will be gladly coming back to this, when it eventually comes back. So overall, I do enjoy the experience of replaying this game, and I would still very highly recommend playing this game for yourself, though at normal difficulty at first. In fact, this is currently my favorite Mega Man fan game out of all, with Unlimited being a semi-close second. Well then, I thank you all for watching, and have a nice day. Toodles!